Okay, gonna do another video here. It's been a while since I've done one. Sorry for the lack of posting. Various health issues going on. Also just getting over a cold this week, so I'm feeling a little stuffed up still. So pardon me if my voice doesn't come across as clear as I would like it to. This time I'm doing a video on software I've written. This is something that I've always wanted to do, and I've worked a really long time on making it happen. Unfortunately, I didn't get to write all the programs that I wanted for various reasons. Mostly, I'm teaching myself as I go. This is all written in C++, early C, like C89. And a little bit of assembly, x86 assembly thrown in. I'm calling the set of programs the Dobson Utilities. And this is my latest version 6.0. It's a major release because every program in the kit has been completely rewritten to be an actual program. And what I mean by that is, in the past, I always would write batch files and then compile my batch files using a utility that I found in PC Magazine long ago called bat2exec.com. It would compile your batch files for you and make them run faster, and I would use that to write utilities and programs, obviously with all the limitations of batch files included, including slower performance. I mean, the compiling made it faster, but it was still pretty slow in disk accesses and various other areas. This version is written from the ground up to be completely written in C. As I said, C89, C++, pre-standardization of C++ 98. So this was before they had the standard template library. And, well, here we go. Let's take a look at the small handful of utilities. Sorry for bumping the camera. I'm in my basement and I'm in a very awkward position. But in my set of utilities is these files. We have cdir, which is a colored directory utility, pardon me, that will display directories in a magenta color, any executable files in green, text files like doc and .txt in a cyan color, and I believe I have zip files set to red, and I also have like straight PDF documents set to bright white. Like you can, let me see if this will show a little bit better. And that scrolled by way too fast. But yeah, image files like a BMP file, as you can see there, is going to be in a brown color. And like INI files are going to be in bright white. And then, of course, executables in, like exe and .com are all going to be in a green color. So that's a pretty nifty tool that I spent some time on working, and it obviously shows you how many directories that it found. This includes the dot directory and the dot directory. And for those of you that don't know, dot always means current. So when you're in a subdirectory and you see dot up here at the top, that means current directory. So if you do cd dot, you're telling change directory to the current directory, in case you didn't know. And the dot means go up one directory to the parent directory. And of course, that I see a lot of people doing that even when they're like 5 directories deep. If we were in like Windows system, what is it, Win32s, I would see them do this all the way up, when you could just use backslash, and that brings you right back to the root if you wanted to. And then just FYI, you'll notice that in the root there's no dot or dot. There's no current directory and there's no parent directory in the root. Off topic, nothing to do with my utilities, but just throwing that in there. And of course, cdir also shows you, or showed you, how many bytes were consumed in the directory by the files listed. We have file date, which can literally timestamp all the utilities, or any file for that matter, with a specific date and time. As you'll notice here, all of my utilities actually have July 2nd of 2025 at 6 a.m. timestamped. That was not the original creation date, but something I like to do. The date itself is very important to me, and the time is always reflective of the version. So this is version 6.0, and therefore 6 a.m. You have Find File. That'll help you locate files on your hard drive if you have the Dobson Utilities in your path statement. Let me try to fix the camera here without giving you too much of my filthy basement. Find File will help you locate files on your hard drive or any other drive. So if I'm looking for the system.ini file, it's going to search, and it should come back with, obviously, the Windows directory. See Windows, there it is. There's your system.ini. Go back into what file were we on next? Meminfo. Meminfo, I wrote to be like a mem replacement, but honestly, the mem command is perfectly sufficient enough that you don't really need this utility. However, I did notice on older versions of DOS, like 3.3 or even 5.0, the mem output is not very detailed like it is in version 6. So, if you have an older DOS version and want more detailed output, there you go. But also, Meminfo has a Windows component, which we'll get to in a moment. You can also run Meminfo from Windows 3.1, and it give you a resource display. Again, I'll show that in a few moments. We have Superbat. I wrote this with a few other utilities I used to use back in the past, like also from PC Magazine. There was a utility called Batchman, which would be a batch file enhancer, or you even got be.com from Norton Utilities, batchenhancer.com. This is Superbat. Not intended to be a play on words like Batchman, where they played on words with Batman. But it kind of works out that this could be like Superman or Super Batchman or something, whatever. But this one is intended to help with batch files. Like, you can type superbat dir exists in the name of directory, and if the directory does not exist, it'll return an error code of 0 or 1 if it exists. So anybody who's familiar with batch file programming knows how to handle error levels. This utility can help out a lot. Same thing with like DOSVer. It takes the major times 32 plus minor. So if you were running DOS version 3.3, major times 32 plus minor would give you an exit code of 126. And so on and so forth for DOS version 5 or DOS version 6. Some of the commands in here actually just put output directly to the display, like superbat extmem, which should tell you the total amount of extended memory in the system. Now, mind you, extended memory is always going to be missing that 1 megabyte for conventional memory. This particular system has 18 megs total RAM, 17 extended, 1 meg base memory. So that's Superbat. And then we have sysclock. This utility will tell you the date and time. I wrote this one mostly because I did not like that if you type date, you had to press enter to get out of being prompted for it, or even time. You have to press enter to get out of being prompted for it. Just bothers me. I don't understand why it can't give just a nice display like that. So, limited use, but that's the reason why I created it. And then we have Taskman and TimeSync. Both of those are Windows 3.1 utilities, which I'll be getting to in a moment. But lastly, and but not leastly, that's going to be a word now. I just created a word. Version.com is really not needed. I've included it for whatever reason, if by any slim chance somebody found an old version of my Dobson Utilities, my Dobson Utilities would call upon this file for version reporting, and it has the same functionality. So in case it's called upon by a setup program, that setup program should recognize that this is a newer version and warn you not to install, if I wrote them correctly. But so that's largely there just for legacy purposes. It does nothing else. There's no Windows component. It's literally just to report to legacy Dobson Utilities applications that this version is version 6.0. Let's go ahead and hop over to Windows. I am running Windows 3.11 in this system. It's thinking about it. Ta-da! Incidentally, this is actually my first computer I ever built myself. First computer I ever owned and saved up money for. I wanted to do a separate video on this. I originally wanted it to be my very first video, but it just didn't turn out that way. Let's go ahead and log into my network. As all of my legacy systems are all networked, makes it so much easier to transfer files. Now these utilities I think might have a little bit more utility, a little bit more usefulness. We can go into File Manager, and we can go into that Dobson Utilities directory here. And first, let's go to Meminfo. I mentioned that that had a Windows component. You launch it, and it is designed to look just like the Norton Utilities System Watch. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do these cool displays. Maybe in a future update, I'll be able to get that working. But it does tell you the total amount of Windows memory available, so that's including virtual memory, physical and virtual memory, the amount of physical memory in the system, and I'm not quite sure why my reporting, which I'm querying, I believe the same API that System Watch should be querying, and why mine is showing a full, like, 3.7 megs, 3.8 megs less. And then, of course, it does show you GDI and user information. So you can see how much resources are being used by your system, and if you get low enough, it's definitely recommended to reboot. Usually anything approaching like 20% of GDI or 20% user, particularly GDI, if your system gets down to 20%, you're going to start crashing. And that typically happens from applications that don't properly clean up after themselves, that don't properly delete GDI objects. If they don't do that, and they leave them in memory, more or less a memory leak, your system is going to crash, so you're going to want to reboot. So that's Meminfo. Next one down the list is Taskman. I purposely designed this to be a task manager replacement. Normally with Windows 3.1, you double-click anywhere, and it shows you task list. And, I mean, it's fine, it works, but I just really like the look of task manager itself. It just feels more right to me. But also, I'm not going to lie, I took the idea from another utility that I found from way back in the day. They called it Super Taskman. But it's awful cluttered, and I only can find an available shareware version, and you obviously can't register it anymore. So, I thought I'd give it a try and make my own. So I did make my own, and I replaced the task manager that comes with Windows with my very own task manager. It doesn't have all the cool graphics that the actual task manager from Windows NT has, but it shows you you're running applications. You can switch to them if you want, or you can kill any application that's running. Like if I wanted to kill File Manager, gone. It's closed. And I did throw in, pretty much the same information you can get in MemInfo. It tells you the total memory in the system, physical and virtual. And then, of course, your GDI and user resources over here. So I really like this application. You can use the option here to set as defaults. This will replace it for you. Replace the task list in Windows 3.1 for you with this task manager. And all that really does is it's literally just an INI entry in progman.ini. Or, my mistake. It should be in system.ini. Taskmanager.exe equals. And you just point it to the executable that you want to run. In this case, I've pointed it to the C:\du/taskman.exe executable, so that this runs every time you run Task Manager. And I do have a restart Windows and restart computer functionality. This will literally restart Windows 3.1 without having to type Win again. So if your resources get low, if you have at least enough resources to run Task Manager, you can do a quick restart from here. Or you can literally restart your whole computer if you were going to restart your computer anyways, and you're within Windows. You can skip the Control-Alt-Delete at the end and just go directly to restart your computer. And then, of course, there is a run command, just like the actual Task Manager has. And it has a history of the commands that you wrote. It'll remember up to the last 20 commands you executed, and it stores this within its own INI file, taskman.ini, which is stored in the Windows directory. And you can browse to any application, and you can go ahead and run it. And there's Taskman running in the background, or the Super Taskman, which is what I launched. And now it will remember it in the run history. And again, it only does this for the last 20 applications. And so if you use more than 20 at a given time, you'll start pushing out applications out of the recently used list. So Task Manager is really cool. I think it's one of the shining programs of my suite. And then, last but not least, is TimeSync, which is another Windows utility. This one requires you to have TCP/IP installed in Windows 3.1, and ideally it should be set as your default protocol. So if you're also using NetBEUI or IPX/SPX, if you have either one of those two set as your default protocol, TimeSync may throw an error. So it's best to make sure that TCP/IP is set to your default protocol, because the NTP, the Network Time Protocol, that this program utilizes requires UDP services, NTP being a function of UDP, if I'm not mistaken. You just simply type in your time server. I default to pool.ntp.org, but you can literally type in any known time server. There's also time.windows.com if you want to go to the Microsoft time server, and you select your time zone. I leave that up to you because Windows 3.1 didn't really have good functionality for pulling time zones from the system. I don't even think time zones were a thing until Windows 95. But time.windows.com, and you could sync. I'm in Central Time Zone. I think we're actually -5 right now. And it'll tell you, hey, I retrieved this time. Is this what you want to update your system time to? And that's actually an hour ahead, so it's an hour behind. So I think I was supposed to do -5. But yeah, you can update your system time here, or select no if you don't want to. There is an automatic countdown timer to avoid flooding the network time servers from too much traffic. It'll randomize between 10 and 30 seconds. And once the countdown timer completes, it'll go back to sync functionality. So that's really cool for people who like to play with old computers. And if you're the type like me who like to make sure that the time is accurate, and maybe your battery died or something, instead of typing the commands from DOS, you can literally do it from Windows, assuming you have TCP/IP installed. So that's it for my Dobson Utilities. That's every utility in my package. I do also have a generic README file that gives you a little bit of info, pretty much everything I've stated here. And I also have a What's New file, giving you a full detailed history of all the Dobson Utilities dating way back to, a really old version. I think I go all the way back. Probably not worth the read, but if you're bored and need something to fall asleep to, there you go. It's only 46K. It's a quick read. But that's my Dobson Utilities. It is up on the website now, on its own website. I have purposely made it so that older computers can access it. So if you have Microsoft Internet Explorer installed on your old Windows 3.1 like I do here, after it starts up, hi FrogFind, love FrogFind, thank you so much Action Retro for making this. It makes the web almost usable again on old computers. Almost. But it's sufficient, not your fault. The rest of the web has moved on. But my website is www.sheltering, oak.com/du for Dobson Utilities is the home page and where you can download. And this, a little blurb about an introduction, how my utility started out a long time ago. In the news, I released version 6.0. There's nothing really else noteworthy. I had a bunch of other information in there, but it was so outdated. I updated this page and refreshed it for this release specifically. There's MS-DOS system requirements and Windows requirements for the Windows utilities specifically. So obviously you need something a little bit more powerful for the Windows utilities. Doesn't require much horsepower at all to run these commands, doesn't need much RAM at all, and doesn't even need that much disk space. I did not say that word. I did not say it. You can't prove it. And then, of course, you can download the Dobson Utilities right here by clicking this button. I give you the exact size of the download and the MD5 hash for those that are interested in making sure that the download happened accurately. But you can click download. You will get a du600.exe file, which contains the installer and a compressed copy of all the utilities that need to be extracted first. So going backwards and starting with the installer last, so I know I said last but not least, but just to give you an idea of what to expect when you download, you will have to run through this install program, which I've put on a floppy drive here so I can play around and have it. That was a beta copy of Minfo. Here's the install. You got to run install.exe. I purposely designed it to look just like the Microsoft DOS installer, with the title bar up at the top, instructions in the center, and what to do or basic commands down at the bottom here. Tell you where it's going to install. You can press F10 to modify the location, or escape to keep it. You can type in whatever driving directory you want to, or you can of course press F3. I'm going to go ahead and exit because it's already installed, but the next screen is literally just extracting the files and then letting you know that it's done. Did that just for nostalgia purposes. It's not really necessary. Maybe in future versions of the Dobson Utilities I'll just have it zipped up and be done with it. But I did all that for the nostalgia. I wrote in an installer utility to go along with it. So that is it. That is my Dobson Utilities, version 6.0. Very proud of my work. I know that these are not groundbreaking utilities, but I hope somebody finds the utilities I've written a little useful. It'd be really cool if I can contribute something to the overall community. But that's it. That's my utilities. Thank you for watching. Sorry for the lack of posting. Haven't been feeling well. Hopefully I can get back to posting on a regular basis. Can't make any promises right now. Depends on what else is happening in my life, but I would love to get back to posting videos on a regular basis. Thank you for watching. And as I was told to suggest, please like and subscribe and all the YouTubey things. Would love to have my subscriber count boost up a little bit. Thank you all for watching.